In this video, I am going to go over internal shape tools. In the previous video, I covered pattern shape tools, and you'll see that internal shape tools lives right next to the pattern shape tools, okay? While pattern shape tools had polygons, um, I should say had your polygon, your rectangle, and your ellipse, okay? All right, finally got that clicked, there you go. You'll see over here with your internal versions, you have internal polygon, line, rectangle, ellipse, and a dart. Okay, we'll run through those. Now you'll see I'm working with the same pattern pieces from the previous video. And so I'll be establishing some internal lines within this garment. The first thing I want to point out is that these series of tools work almost exactly the same as the pattern shape ones. So with your square, I can simply click and drag one out. I can also click to just enter in any of the width and height information, the replication information, and then you'll see here there's additional information regarding position. Um, and so you'll see it's either going to work from the pattern's edge, which is always going to be on the left, so you'll see here 2.999, or you'll see center and you've got right, up, and down. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here. And I'll do the same thing quickly with the ellipse. Okay. So again, I can come over here and draw out my ellipse. I can also click to enter the dimensions that I need. And you'll see I'll have size and I have replication information here as well. Okay. I'm going to hit cancel. And I'm going to grab my transform pattern and I'm just going to delete both of these. Okay. And before I delete the last ones, I just want to quickly make sure you understand that I'm getting duplicates on all of these shapes because remember when I created this first pattern piece, we duplicated it with symmetry. So anything I do on one is going to become visible on the other one as well. Okay, and that's going to apply to these internal shapes. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete here, and I'm going to move on to my polygon. And again, this tool is going to function very similarly to the pattern polygon, with the exception that we don't have to close the shape. I can actually create an open line if I need to. So for instance here, just to illustrate that, I will start near the top, near the armhole, click to drop, come here, click and drop another one. And you're going to see that the line is going to continue to follow me exactly like the pen tool would in Illustrator. And so to tell Clo that I'm really, really done, I'm just going to hit enter. And that's just going to take a moment. It's going to close that out as a line. And then you're going to see that it's worked through that process because I've got my symmetric copy on the other side. Okay. So lines are really helpful. You will see in particular in some of Hwa's videos where she is using internal lines as a visual guide as she works. Okay. But you can also create shapes. So you may want to make internal lines for a pocket. And you'll see that Clo is very, again, intuitive and helpful. So I have these guides that are popping up and they have measurements on them indicating where within the garment I am. And then you'll see as I click to draw a pocket, and I'm working along this horizontal line. Okay, a vertical line pops up. I can use that. And then smart guides, these little pink lines, again, very similar to Illustrator, pop up to indicate that I am in the center of that top line. So I'll click. Okay, another pink smart guide shows that I am at the same point as the segment point that I have directly across from me. So I'll go ahead and click. And then it'll come up and click to close that. Okay, and again, because of the symmetric copy, I have two pockets. Now I don't actually want those, so I will select that and hit delete. And I'm going to go ahead and select the polygon line that I have up here at the top and choose delete as well. Okay. Now, so far we have been making these internal lines, okay, on top of the garment. And if you're not familiar with internal lines, if you are not familiar with pattern making, if you're not familiar with sewing, internal lines are used for a number of different reasons. So Obviously, I just drew a pocket, okay? It can mark things like top stitch detail. You can create holes. It essentially can just tell you, be sort of a mark of placement, something's going to happen here. And as you can see from all the measurements that were popping up, you can also use that as a tool to help you measure things out. So again, referencing that list I just shared with you, again, one of them was to create a hole. And so I'll go ahead and show you how to do that on this garment. I'm going to go ahead and grab the internal ellipse. And I'm going to do this running off the side of my garment. Think of it as creating cutouts in the garment, okay? So I'll start here and I'll just draw a fair-sized circle. And again, it's a symmetric copy, so it's going to show on the other side. And I'm going to grab my Edit Pattern tool, and I'm going to right-click. And that was not on the garment, that was actually on the internal line, just to make sure that that's clear. And I'm going to select this option for Cut. All right, now you can see that that was cut out. Now, I don't actually have access to this, okay? For some reason on the 2D window, that just doesn't work. But if I come over here to my 3D window, okay, if I select my dress, you can clearly see that the dress is selected, but these circular areas are not. So I will click on one of them, and I'm just going to hit the delete key. And I will click on the other one as soon as I can, and I will hit delete again. Okay. All right, so those are some things that you might play with, again, with your garments for your final project. Now I'm going to step back, and it's going to take me a few step backs because I want to get back to the place where I don't have these circles cut out of my pattern. Okay, and I'll grab my Transform Pattern tool and I'm going to select and delete. Okay. All right, so again, we have run through polygon, rectangle, and ellipse. And the other option we have is for a dart, and more specifically, this is a fisheye dart. And I'm just going to click and drag this out, and you're going to see that this is going to create a diamond shape. Okay? And it's going to automatically make a cut. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to do it one more time to make sure you see. So I'm going to come up a little higher this time, and I'm going to drag down, and I can determine the length, and I can determine the width. Okay? And again, that's going to be cut out. So if this is going to be a true dart, I'm going to need to sew this shut. Okay, and again, just to illustrate that, I am going to use my segment sewing tool. As you can see, I have separate segments here. So my segment sewing tool, I will start at the top, and I'll do the bottom. Okay, I'll go ahead and simulate. Okay. And of course, I have not created the back of my dress, so that is going to fall, okay? But you have a sense of what that looks like, okay? I am going to, I stepped back using Command Z, so I'm just going to step back to the point where I am here, okay? Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit and pan up so I can get my entire dress in the view once more. And I am going to grab my dart tool again. I'm going to drag this dart off the edge of my pattern, and you're going to see that this is not possible, okay? With this particular internal line, I cannot actually cross over the pattern's edge, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and again, you'll see if I want to do the same thing once more, I can do so as long as all of the edges of this internal line live within the boundaries of my pattern, okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. I will be back in a moment with a few extraneous pieces of information.